So you're listening to Real Voices with Miss Alissar. That's me. Today I'm going to talk about age in all its forms and how do we embrace it or not and what's going on in our lives. And my two wonderful guests today, one is a dear friend who lives in my heart. Her name is Nadine Kanso, and she is the creative director at Bilarabi, which is my favorite jewelry on the planet.
I love you.
And she's married to a friend of mine, but I like her a lot more than him. Okay. Aziz, if you're listening, just so we are clear. And to my right, I have one of our precious alumni. His name is Dr. Hassan Galadari. He is a consultant dermatologist and an associate professor at UAE University, and very special since you were young, and still special and will always be. You know how dear you are, not just to me, but to the whole Mawakib family and especially the Nasser family.
What do you mean since till young? I'm still young.
Well, there we go. That is a good way to start our conversation. So let's start by let's talk about our opinion of what we think young is. Because for me, even though in definition it's a number of years, I think my touch to it is always feeling like you want to live life to its fullest without being bogged down by the constraints of what age might put on you. Set aside the physical constraints. So what do you think, age?
Age. There are two basic components when it comes to age. There's the physical aspect of it, and this is, these are things that we see in us, things that are dictated to us by biology, let's put it that way. And there are external and internal driving forces that change the physical aspect of it. And then there's the psychological aspect of age, because if you look at yourself, say 30 or 40 years ago, you're a much different person than you are now. And a lot of people kind of mix the psychological age part with maturity or wisdom. So I like to kind of not do so in a sense. I like to kind of separate them. But there's definitely a psychological component when it comes to age. So that's how I usually define age.
Okay. And so then if you're young, it means what? You're young in age or young in spirit or young? What is young?
So, you could be young in spirit, but then at the same time, your physical attributes do not help you or do not translate your feelings on the inside. Okay. Say, for example, there are certain moves that you were able to do when you were a young person that you just cannot do because your joints are not as they were before. It's a little creaky, for example.
Yes, I can give you examples in my life for sure.
High heels for me.
Yep. Masalan, you've dropped down a few inches.
Yeah, I've dropped down a few inches.
What about you, Nadine? Let's talk about the definition of young.
I don't feel my age. I'm in my 50s. And I feel very young at heart. I can go out, come back. Obviously, the physical is sometimes a bit of a annoyance, but I do my best to keep active, to keep fit. But in my mind, I feel I'm 25. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, especially when you have kids that are 25.
Good for you, maybe not for them.
Exactly. So, no, I don't feel I've aged. Obviously, physically, when I look in the mirror and I see some lines and what I want to do with them and how do I want to appear to society or to the public, especially now with, as we mentioned earlier, social media and stuff like that. I feel there's a lot of pressure on a lot of people when it comes to how they look. But how I feel really I'm back.
How did you achieve this? And I hear you and I say that's great. And this is one of the reasons I love having you in my life, because that spirit kind of projects itself on people around you. And your laissez-faire of how to deal with things inspires me. Because I'm in my 50s also. I'm 55. We are talking about embracing our age so we can divulge. Mm-hmm. So I'm 55 and I'm loving my 50s. I am. I enjoyed my 40s. I enjoyed my 30s. And I'm okay with my 50s. I'm doing well. So how do you capture that young mindset that you talk about
I think I don't know if it's a character thing. I don't know if it's my mother. She's also very outgoing and she's very active when it comes to social life. And I think I also have a lot of younger friends, and this is what keeps me kind of going. So it's a big part. I'm a positive person in general, so I like to go out. I do a lot of effort, and I push myself. I have to say, a lot of times I push myself. I say, like, I don't want to stay at home. I need to go out. It's not need. I want to go out, and I want to see people. I want to keep that buzz in my life. I think the more you keep that buzz, the more you feel alive, the more you feel young.
So what, H, you're listening to two women in their 50s.
Mm-hmm.
You're still in your 40s, I know.
Yes.
I know exactly how old you are. Are you not going to divulge, Dr. Galadari?
I am. I'm in the I'm the blossoming age of 44.
Blossoming indeed. You look as great as you ever did, if not greater.
Thank you.
So you're listening to two women in their 50s. Clearly, we both embrace our age. I mean, I have no problem with my age, and neither does Nadine.
And
how do the men look at these things?
Well, and the reason why I think you guys are embracing your age is because, you're at ease with yourself. But remember, there are a lot of social pressures that may change that. Maybe not in your current careers, but say, for example, in people who are in the limelight, who are always being seen. I don't want to say celebrities or anything, but they're basic public figures. Those are the ones that are unable to kind of embrace their age, and they look back on how they were before, and they want to kind of change or go back to or stay. That's the problem.
What do you say to them then? Not as a doctor, but also as a doctor and as someone who's in their 40s, and you see this manifesting itself in our society.
Right.
Because Anna, in my schools, I would say to you, I'm starting to see signs of it among the younger people, and it's a bit disturbing for me. So what would you say from a medical perspective, because you are a dermatologist and you do a lot of plastic procedures, I want to say, and from, a man in the mid-40s, your wife is also in that age group. So how do you go about?
I mean, I have no qualms in people undergoing certain procedures as long as it's within a natural norm. See, for me, being natural is not a single point. It is it's an area that you live in. So if you are within that area, then that's completely okay. So if you are undergoing certain procedures that will allow you to stay in that area. But then if you start going overboard, that's the problem. That's when you start looking unnatural. So that's where, in terms of the physical appearance. But let's not forget also, when a person gets a little bit older, certain activities are also not appropriate for that person's age group. Say, for example, if a person is in their 50s, they're not probably going to be hanging out until 2 or 3 a.m.
I do.
I do too sometimes.
No,
it depends.
I want to dance.
We're embracing our age.
No, depends on the crowd that you're hanging out with. I mean,
I told you, they're younger.
Now we're talking Emirati versus non. So Heidi, we'll cut it out of the interview. Yes, I get you. But I know what you're saying. Okay, I know. But what I want you to tell me is, why are, masalan, some people, women, like I do some procedures. I'm not shy about it. I do. I'm sure Nadine does.
Yeah, I do.
Me too.
And we stay within the natural, like you said,
Absolutely.
that define that stage.
Yes.
Why are some people or some women our age especially and our age group choosing to go overboard? I don't understand.
But even
that.
younger nowadays.
I said it's disturbing me. I am hearing of younger people and I'm going, what's going on?
It's a little bit of a two-edged sword. I mean, I blame the person or the patient. In addition to blaming the doctor, the blame doesn't go all the way to the patient.
Okay.
The doctor has to stay and say, stop. I mean, you cannot go overboard. I mean, it's not going to look good. So now some patients appreciate this, but it all depends on what's the relationship that the doctor has with the patient. If they're able to kind of convince them, talk to them about it, and that type of relationship puts the patient at ease and says, yes, I'm accepting to what I am looking like, and I will continue looking the same and probably age gracefully. Other doctors, no, they it's at the end of the day, it's a little bit more on the commercial side. It's a business.
Yeah.
So
That's kind of scary because, if I go to Hassan Galadari and he tells me to stop and I hear you, then I'll go find another doctor that will allow it.
Exactly. And unfortunately now, I mean, if you look at where the current state that we're living in, it's, if, you go on one of the roads in Jumeirah and you'll find there's like
one after the other.
Yeah, every other clinic is another clinic. So that's the issue.
There's an excess of addiction, if you want, as well.
Right. And
because you look at yourself in the mirror and then you say, oh my God, I fixed this, and should I go and fix it again? And within like a month or so, these things go through, let's say, my mind, but then I stop myself. It's like, okay, I need to go when the time is right. I should not do more because I will look even not myself, one, and I look probably different, which I don't want to look different. And if I look at younger people nowadays, some of them, which might be in their 25, 40, 30, not 40, 30, that would probably look like I am today.
Right.
With less things done on my face to their face. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. And that's
they would look older. They look like more madame.
I say they look more tired for their age, I would say. So then we're trying to embrace our age. So there must be things we do other than the socialization and whatever. For me, being engaged with my kids and understanding that it's their time to be in their 20s leaves me grounded on feeling like I have to live my 50s. Like I start looking at, okay, been there, done that, loved it, but I want to enjoy watching them enjoy that stage in their life now instead of hijack it from them, right? So I find myself, for example, going to a wedding for young people who invite me, whether they're alumni. Recently, I was at a wedding this weekend, and I felt at some point, not only me, I would have thought all of my age group who are not family should now probably exit and let the young people enjoy themselves. And I did that. I left. And I felt like it was the right time because it was, I want to do me, let them do them. And part of me embracing my age is understanding that it's okay to step away and let them do it. So how are ways you deploy embracing your age?
That's what I meant, but apparently,
Nadine,
just wants to party with them. It's like,
I know we need to spend more time with her. No,
no. I mean, if I used to come back at 3, now I come at 1:30. So.
That's already good, Hansi. That's very good.
Good. Maybe by the end of the interview, she'll probably be leaving at around 11. So
no, not yet.
Not yet. So she needs to work on embracing.
It will come.
It will come.
I'm 55. You're what?
54.
That's it. It's the 1 year. and when she's 55, she'll get there.
But I see where you're coming from. I mean, in terms of like stepping back and so forth. But it all depends on the personality of a person. I mean, I understand that the children it's their time. But it's not wrong, and I can see where Nadine is coming from. It's not wrong also being a part of it,
and enjoying it.
And enjoying it.
If you do enjoy it,
right?
Of course. You should not force it on yourself.
Exactly, and not make a fool of yourself, and at the same time,
100%.
Not to be overbearing on, as you mentioned, the newer generation. You just want them to kind of also live their own way of living.
Yeah. There should be a balance. I totally agree with you on that. So if you feel you need to leave, then you leave. You're fine if you're fine with it, No,
I'm. It's in the end. Actually, you just nailed it. It's about doing what you feel is right when the situation presents itself. What does your inner voice tell you you're supposed to do right now? Do it. Most of the time, you'll find that you did the right thing for you and for those around you who needed you to act. So it goes for me right now. I'm starting to look at the years of my life in a different way. Like before it was years, it was, I'm hitting my 50s, I'm hitting my 40s. I now have kids who are in their 20s, whatever. Now I look at it differently and it's, I have to say, a bit scary. So I'm trying to embrace that now. And I count my years by, for example, look, I'm 55. I literally have maybe 15 more summers where I can travel easily. So it's 15 really, not 15 years. It's 15 summers, It's, 15 birthdays with my children. It's that I can, maybe it's even less if they get married and move away. When I start looking at my age as number of things per year, it becomes more, watch out, take advantage. And therefore I embrace my age even more by saying, okay, I cannot leave anything without giving it its weight, its value. What do you think about this? Am I crazy?
No, you're not crazy. It's because we're getting to that age, and probably because we have family that's older. At least for me, I look at my family and I see how they're growing, like my mom, my dad, Aziz's parents, and then you put things into perspective, and that gives you two ways. Either you want to still keep on living life fully as much as you can, because you can see where you might be heading, where just by reading a book, staying at home and doing a walk every day for half an hour is more than enough for you at your 80s or 70s. Or do you want to, start by doing that to get there? Or do you want to really I want to do the mag, light it up, I always think nobody knows what tomorrow's bringing.
Right.
So live your life fully today, as long as you're happy with what you're doing today. Okay. So you want to party. You want to stay home, you stay home. You want to be with your kids, great. I think each one deals with these things differently. I think it is scary to look at things and if you want project in 20 years how things will be. Probably you cannot travel any longer. God forbids one is sick for whatever, because you never know what comes.
Exactly.
The body does not give you a heads up. At least we're not in that period where you can actually go check in yourself and know that this is what's going to happen to you in 10 years and how can you go about it to prevent it. I don't think the medical world is ready for this huge population to actually do that. So for me, it's like, okay, I feel like going on to the beach today and have a walk, not go to work early, I'm going to do it. And if I feel like working from home, I'm going to do that. If I feel I'm going to have to work 20 hours a day, I will do it.
When did you start? See, this is very important because I'm there also. I'm at a stage where if I want to stay home, I'm going to stay home.
I think COVID.
But then, when you become in positions where you are in leadership and you can afford to do that, it's easy to say this, right? Not everyone can say that. And this is where we are privileged a little bit. Yeah. But at a certain point, I agree totally with you. You have to trust that you should do what your body and your mind are telling you to do. Otherwise, you're going to regret it, honestly.
Yeah.
So I used to be a planner. Okay, I planned everything in my life. And if you know me, and you know me very well, and then you know that, everything in my life, I had a plan. Now I do less planning. I do more spontaneous stuff. And I find that came with embracing my 50s. I'm at a time where if I had my passport, I would hop on a plane and go somewhere when I get it back. Do you feel there are turning points like this that you've gone through? But then you're in your mid-40s. Is that midlife crisis coming for you?
It has not hit yet, but
I saw your Ferrari, dude. It came and went.
That's right.
Thank God you finished it with a Ferrari.
But I'm very much similar to what you're saying. I mean, in terms of being spontaneous, and I think being spontaneous is a very what I would, if you want to consider it, a childhood characteristics. I don't want to say childish, but more of a childhood characteristics. Other ones that I tend to embrace that are also childhood characteristics will include wonderment. I like always wondering, what does this thing do? What does this thing do? And this is a very childlike kind of way of thinking. And that makes you feel younger. Curiosity. As we get a little older, become less curious. And children, they're just always curious. So this is something that's very, very beautiful. That's, if we embrace those type of characteristics, learn from
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. And I think we have to create a list of these things. I think that's something we should walk away with today, is how to create a list of childlike mannerisms, if you will, that will actually, I'll tell you, you've just triggered something in my mind, because I can tell you very honestly, being around the kids in school every day keeps me young.
Exactly.
I do.
Yes,
It
and
does.
you're so lucky.
I am.
Yeah.
I'm blessed. And I was going to launch, I didn't yet, but we have to. And I'm making a promise to all our alumni who work stressful jobs, corporate jobs, work till like you just arrived from work and it's more than 9 p.m. and people are still, in their offices. I want to say, when you feel stressed, give me a call. Come. I'll walk you around Mawakib, take you to the KG, take you to the elementary kids. Sit and talk to them. I guarantee you will de-stress.
Absolutely.
I guarantee. I feel it every day when I'm at work, which is probably why I still love going every day to work.
And you're touching on things that are actually scientifically proven, Alissar.
How? This is cool.
Yeah. So I mean, if you look at people who elderly who are in nursing home, for example, who have for example, if they're suffering from depression and so forth, dementia,
whatever.
you bring in kids and you mix them with them.
They'll be
really
happy.
they become happier. They truly enjoy it. They light up, and it's because they're interacting with these children, and they both of them like it. It's the children like it because they're hanging out with people who are not just ordering them to sit down and
They
be
actually
quiet.
listen to them.
And yes, and they listen to their stories, and the older people just also are enjoying
They blossom.
seeing. Yes, they're seeing these kids.
Which explains grandparents.
Yes,
And how important grandchildren are in
to
their
them.
lives.
Absolutely.
And this is maybe a message we want to send to everyone who's listening today, if they're students, if they're young, if they're not in our age group. Your
Be grandparents.
grandparents need
Yeah, you need to
your
be around
presence.
it.
You
Yeah.
need to talk to them. You need to say hi. This is how you contribute to their
well-being.
Well-being,
Well-being.
100%.
That's amazing. This is so many.
It's a
epiphanies
big
today.
point on depression for older people. When they have younger, like their grandchildren around them, you'll see less of that
And
depression.
I've seen it happen. I mean, I go, for example, to my in-laws, and then when we travel, for example, my wife and I, and the in-laws, and my wife always is afraid of leaving the kids because they're younger. She's afraid of leaving them with their parents. Her parents beg her to keep the kids there because they lighten up the house.
Yeah, of course.
And they're living, they're empty nesters. They lighten up the house with their sounds and their
I
activities.
know his daughters, and they are like that. They would light up any house.
So yes,
It's kind of funny. You know my mom.
yes, of course.
Yeah, I met your mom.
So my mom, her life revolves around children and the grandchildren. No matter, like the oldest one is like 31 now, and he's still Nabil.
Of course.
He's the
Yeah.
he's the youngest. He's the oldest of the grandchildren, and I can definitely agree that the 9 grandchildren have definitely enhanced her life longevity. Even my dad, despite all, and we lost him a year ago, but his life was enhanced by the presence of the grandchildren, 100%. And now I see it more when you've brought it up, Hassan, because I'm thinking of all the situations, and we all need to do that. And I think in the UAE, we need to create more platforms for something like this happening. I don't think we have enough.
No, I
we
agree.
don't have enough. We don't have
It's
enough.
good to talk about it.
Yes. We don't talk about
No, we don't talk
this
about
often
these
enough,
things.
which is why I wanted to talk about this.
Let me give you an idea. Since you're in school, how rather than having like Parents' Day, why don't you have Grandparents' Day? Invite the grandparents to the school.
I love it.
Yeah.
And recently we've had, the oldest Emirati woman in school talking to all of our younger kids. And it was amazing.
They have
So,
stories to
yes.
tell that this generation probably will never have access to, and this is what's nice about having older people come into your house, come into your school, and
They change
yeah.
They change something in you. You walk in and you walk out something else.
And I can tell. Let's say when my Amu Aziz speaks to Amr, my son, if I'm gonna tell him something, probably he would not listen as much as he would listen from his grandfather.
That's right.
Yep.
That's right.
They'll have that kind of
Different connection.
exactly.
My heck. Yeah, I have the same experience with my parents towards the children versus us towards the children. Even when they're absent, they still have. And like right now, if I say to my kids, Jiddo wouldn't have liked this, it would turn them around.
Absolutely.
Even
Yeah.
in his absence,
Yes.
it would still have.
Yeah,
an
of course, because
influence.
they have respect for him as
Yeah,
well.
That's amazing. So if we want to talk about the effect of embracing our age, I think the three of us are in a good place, so I'm not worried about any of us. But my concern, and I want to hear from the non-medical and the dermatologist side of, you are around young people. Nadine, young people will look up to you. You're my friend, and I know I talk about you a lot when I talk to young girls. So what messages do we want to get across to young girls especially, but also young boys, about the process of aging and getting older and
We should say
becoming new versions of ourselves, not aging versions of ourselves, but new versions of ourselves.
we
and
should say it's
embracing it.
okay. It's okay to grow older and age and have a few lines. The only the concern you have is obviously for much younger people who are going to
In
doctors
schools,
and asking for things to actually change their faces, and this is what's dangerous. And I think this is because of social media and social pressures and all of that. I do things to my face. I'm not going to deny it, but I try to keep things as natural as possible. I might have a facelift. I don't know. I might,
2 minutes with Hassan, and he talked you into it.
Yeah, I mean, you also want to always feel good about yourself, and if this makes you feel good, it's fine. The only thing is, for me, the extra. Don't do that extra thing that will not make you look like yourself.
But that's for our age group. For young girls, I think if you start when you're in your teens, you're already on the extra side.
حرام, this is
not
too
right.
much.
So, and I'll pick up on something you said, and I'll say, if you're doing it for yourself because it makes you feel, because I do a little bit here and there too, but if I do it, it's because they were annoying me and I did it to please myself, not for
anyone else.
And this is where the problem is with younger people.
Right.
They're not in that path.
Right.
They're in the path of influence by social media, whatever. So tell us.
So my take on this, because I see them a lot. I mean, I have patients who come in and they are young. We're talking about less than 18 years of age, and sometimes they're brought with their parents.
Oh no.
Yeah, that's the issue. And
is that okay?
Is that even legal?
Let's leave the legal ramifications out of this.
Okay.
But most of the time, the reason for this is that, remember, we're dealing with kids. They're still in their teen years. Insecurity. They're easily influenced. They're insecure. There's a little bit lack of self-confidence. And this is very, very important at this age group, is that we have to enforce that self-confidence. And we do that by, instilling characteristics or attributes for them that will make them stronger. Not find the easy way out by telling them, oh, listen, if I'm going to be doing your lips, say, for example, if I'm going to be fixing the area underneath the eyes, it's going to make you look better, and that's going to provide you with your self-confidence. That's not going to do that. So the way that I tend to see it is that I tell them, and I'll be very honest with them. I tell them, you are beautiful. You're good looking. Don't be influenced by what you're seeing on those social media aspects. Live your life right now. And if there is certain parts of your life that you feel, there are other people who are kind of, looking down at you, because at the end of the day, they are children, and there's definitely a lot of bullying that's happening.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you have to tell them that they have to be stronger than that. And I tell them, listen, once you reach up to a certain point, I will be the person who's going to do it for you. I'm all for it. But at this time, embrace who you are right now. You're still in a process of learning. Yes,
and
changing and learning who you are and growing. So do that. Once that's done, then, I will see you.
So I like the fact that you're turning it into a conversation of not don't do it. It's just not the right time. It's not the time to do
exactly.
it. But how do we stop these negative voices in their lives? We're not there all the time, right? They're going to hear them. I've deployed one thing that I do. Every once in a while, whenever I can, especially the girls again, I collect all the girls in one place, and I'm going to do it soon. And I say, take out your phones and say, who do you follow on TikTok or Instagram? take out your following. Do you have someone you're following that makes you feel bad about something about yourself?
Mm-hmm.
Raise your hand. They raise their hands. They raise their hands because we're having just a casual conversation, right?
Sure.
And they raise their hands and I go, okay, find that person, right? Find them. Unfollow.
Mm.
I say, unfollow right now. Unfollow.
Hey,
And
you need somebody to...
And they relax. And I'm like, okay, that might not last because, 2-3 weeks later, they might follow again.
Right.
But the message went across. You do not have
to follow.
To have people in your life who make you feel inadequate. Stay in your life.
Right.
Start with social media.
Exactly.
Then move to who are you around that's making you feel inadequate? Get out of that circle.
Mm.
And if it's in school, get out of the circle and tell me who it is. If we don't have proactive interference, talking about the things they should or should not feel is not going to go across. You have 2 daughters. Sooner or later, they're going to start hearing these things.
Mm-hmm.
How do you plan on arming them with the right weaponry, if you want, to fight the urge to fall victim to these things?
I mean, I can tell you from personal experience. So I'm divulging this also in public right now. So my older daughter has a little slight more hair on her arms, and she sometimes tells me like, "Daddy, I've got hair here." And she doesn't see it with her younger sister. She said because the other one is a little blondie, so you can't really see anything. So she tells me like, what is this? I tell her like, listen, this is normal. It's very things people have hair. I mean, we're human beings. We have hair. I tell her, does it bother you? She tells me, no, it doesn't bother me. I tell her like, when it starts bothering you, then you come and talk to me, and then we'll try to find the answer to it. But if it doesn't bother you right now, don't even think about it. There are other things that are important at your stage of your life that you need to kind of focus on. Whether you want to play, or whether you want to paint, or you're practicing your piano. Focus on that. And then and I'm sure it's going to hit her when she hits her teen years, because that's when they start becoming more introspective. Once we reach to that point, then I'm going to have that conversation with her, and then we'll take it from there.
Then you'll have a solution, Anjan. Later, you'll have a solution for it. 13 is okay.
There will be a solution, but it's kind of nice that she's feeling. I was talking about this
express herself.
She's found a safe environment in the
and
presence of her dad, and that's amazing.
And it's important to communicate. That's the problem, I believe, with
exactly.
parents.
I was going to say that.
They don't
You've
communicate.
hit the nail on the head, which is
they don't have time.
Are we creating a safe space for our children to talk to us without feeling judged all the time when they're talking, without feeling like if I say anything to you, the next thing I'm going to hear is a rant of advice.
Absolutely.
Versus just listen and engage in questions, right?
Yeah, it takes a lot, actually. And even with Amr, sometimes it's like he tells me, Mom, you're not listening to me.
Yeah.
So before reacting, just like listen to what I'm saying. And I have to listen. And he's right.
That's
and sometimes you have to, they teach you things. So I'm not the kind of person like I would automatically would tell him, don't do this. And he goes like, listen, wait until I finish. Just like before you.
I know him. You've done very well. He's a fantastic young man. So I'm okay.
Sometimes, one of the other advice that I can, this is something that, I don't know if you guys do it, but for my older children, I present to them a problem, and I would tell them, I have this problem. What do you guys think? What should I do? And then they come in and try to help. So they give me advice. I already know, and I already have.
But this is them.
This is them doing
genius.
it. So it's your base. It's like you might want to call it reverse psychology or anything of that sort. But they come up with the plan, and they tell me, Dad, you should do this. Oh, that's a great idea. I think fantastic. Thank you so much for telling me.
I do it. I've always done it, but I've done it differently. I said, today in school there was this girl who had this problem.
Okay.
Or today in school we caught this boy doing this, and then I turn it into what should I do?
Yes.
It works.
It does.
It
and
does.
Sometimes they tell you things that you
they shock you.
Yeah, exactly.
They are. We're digressing a little bit, but it helps because even as we age, we're still learning. I'd say your best partners in parenting are your kids.
Yes.
Because, and I said this, I reversed the question. Instead of saying, how do I parent my kid? How about you sit your kid down and ask them, how do you want me to parent you? A challenge is having parents sit down and ask the opinion of their children how they want to be raised. You would be shocked because they would have the best advice.
Right.
And they would take you down the right road of how they want to be raised because you think they don't know right from wrong. They do.
They do.
No, they
You've
do.
already planted those seeds.
Yeah, exactly.
And
And-
watch.
And now going back again, since we're moving in tangent, if you feel that you are not listening, that's the point in which you have aged so much, and then you're not basically
connected.
You're not connected anymore.
So we have to add that to the list of things to keep us connected with
exactly.
childlike attributes, which is the listening and fighting the urge to always advise with our wisdom.
Right.
All right. Wow, this was so nice. Stephanie is signaling that we should finish. This was such a wonderful conversation, and I would love to continue.
We have to have a second
part
session.
two.
Yeah, part 2.
It would be great. Actually, maybe I will invite you back for part 2 on different things also. You're 2 wonderful people to talk to. I love you both very much.
Thank you for having us.
You are a gem, Nadine
Habibti.
Kanso. I love everything about you.
Thank you so much.
And you do inspire me with how young. And the next time you go out, I want to go out with you.
Yalla.
Without the husbands. Keep them
Of
at
course.
home.
We'll take Dr. Hassan.
We'll take Hassan. Lena, though, we have to take her permission.
Sure.
I am so proud of you.
Thank you.
Anything you do, I consider a success for me because in you, I see a gentleman and a father that I'm very, very proud to have been, even in a little way, part of your journey.
Thank you.
I'm so glad you made the time, both of you, to be with me tonight. Thank you all very much for listening.
so
And
much.
all of you, last message about age, I say,
Embrace it.
Embrace it.
embrace it.
Absolutely.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you all very much.